Well, hello again. I just thought I'd do a very quick video. It's the 9th of August here, so this is like the equivalent of the 9th of December in the UK. Can you believe that? This is Western Australia, of course, a glittering blue ocean. Sounds like someone's listening to some horse racing or something in one of these boats down here. There's some ships on the horizon out there, coming into the local port for some iron ore. This is the obviously this is the private vessel marina. Okay, so I think what I'll do is I'll actually face away from the ocean, but you can see the reflection of the ocean in the glass door here, simply because the sun is sort of beaming down from over here, over my right shoulder, if you like. So I could turn the camera around, I suppose. Shall I turn the camera around? Actually, yeah, let's turn the camera around. Will I be able to see the viewfinder? That's the thing. Yeah, no, I can't really see the viewfinder. There we go, that's not so bad, is it? Believe it or not, that's a car radio about 200 metres away, but I am sort of 3 floors up. So I suppose I can hear sort of things that, you know, the sound travels a little bit better maybe in an upwards direction. Well, the camera lens needs cleaning. Anyway, I'm going off at a bit of a tangent here. I saw today that apparently Mr. Grusch, someone's leaked Mr. Grusch's medical records. And apparently he had some mental health issues, and he had to be, I think, what in the UK would be sectioned, and given some treatment for his mental health issues. Now, obviously, I don't want to make light of that. I certainly don't want to make fun of it, but I think it is worth knowing that that is the case, because sometimes these people, you know, he said that he suffers from autism. Autism apparently can affect your critical thinking ability, and if he's had these other mental health issues, then he may not have a really good grip on reality with regard to what he's been told with all this UFO alien stuff. I mean, he may very well believe it. You know, he may very well have swallowed it hook, line and sinker. But that doesn't mean any of it's true, and I think it would. People are saying it doesn't affect his credibility. Well, I think it does, to be perfectly honest. If somebody is telling you something and then you find out that they may have a medical condition that affects their critical thinking ability, and, you know, other mental health issues that may affect how he sees the world. And the other thing, the other thing too is. I've lost my train of thought now. Can I edit that out? Maybe. Hang on. Yeah, I've gone back to the reflection view, the reflection in the door. The other thing too is that when I was watching that thing from Senator Burchett again, where he says, well, you know, people have told him they've had first-hand experience, and when he's asked them to come along and present it, they're backing out on him. Now, he really should not give them the opportunity to be able to do that. He should subpoena these people, get them up there, find out what this is all about, get them in front of Congress under oath, because anybody can feed him any old nonsense behind the scenes, you know. Standing in front of Congress under oath and repeating the same thing is something very, very different. Apparently one of the guys said that he worked for NASA, and Senator Burchett said NASA are saying that they've never heard of him. You know, there are red flags all over this story. and the more I hear about it, the less credibility I think it has. I think it's interesting too that Stephen Bassett was on a programme with Nick Pope. I wish I could find that video clip. I've looked for it and I can't find it. And he was saying, oh, this disclosure's coming. He thought it was going to come in the hearing on the 26th of July, a couple of weeks back. You know, I'm so glad that I was alive to see it and all this sort of stuff. And I said at the time that Nick Pope looked really incredulous. Now Steve Bassett has gone back to there's a procedure and it's going to take time for this to come out. He's gone back to his old script. So I think he got overly excited when he saw and heard this stuff from Grusch and, you know, the Congress, the hearing, and he really thought, that's it, we've made it, we're going to get disclosure. Of course, he realised pretty quickly, I think, that it wasn't coming. There was no tangible evidence. There is nothing to disclose. So now they're going back to the old script. It's a procedure. It's going to take time, you know. This is what's going to be required. Of course, Bassett's got no idea what would be required. And I mean, Trump's in a lot of trouble right now, isn't he? Why doesn't he say to them, lay off, or I'll expose the truth about all this stuff, if there was any truth to it? So, personally, I don't think there is any truth to it. I think it's all hogwash. And I think it will be shown to be hogwash fairly quickly. I mean, Dr. Fitzpatrick, Sean Fitzpatrick, is it, that runs Arrow, has said, well, that we have no convincing evidence of any of this stuff. It's curious that he says that Grusch never approached him, when Grusch is saying that he did, but Dr. Fitzpatrick wasn't interested in Grusch's story. The other thing too is we haven't seen the documents submitted by Grusch to DOPSA for clearance. You know, does his credible claim relate to his victimisation rather than anything ET related? You know, is he now a civilian because of these problems, possibly problems with reality? You know, is that what this is all about? Why isn't anybody asking him, why is he now a civilian? He was doing quite well, wasn't he? He was getting promoted all the time. He was telling us in the hearing that he was on the same pay grade as a full bird colonel. You know, he's doing very, very well in the military. Why is he now a civilian? What is the real reason that he's no longer in the military? Do we know that? I don't think we do. If you think otherwise, you know, maybe you could let me know. All right, well, I think that's about it. I'm going to leave a link below to an interview I saw with Ross Coulthard a little while ago, where he's saying, yes, about Grusch did have these issues, and he was, he was taken away to... Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. He was taken away to a mental health facility for some treatment. He got the treatment that he needed, and that it should be talked about, and there shouldn't be any problems with people suffering from PhD that have come back from war zones. And I couldn't agree more. But Coulthard said, yes, well, I didn't include that in the original interview because I didn't think it was significant. Now it's out in the open. Coulthard is saying that it should be talked about, but I think the reason he didn't put it in the original interview was that he thought that it would detract from Grusch's credibility. And I've said it before, you know, he's not much of a whistleblower, Grusch, is he? He must be blowing a dog whistle, because I'm really not hearing anything. I'm not hearing anything significant. You know, I'm certainly not hearing anything that can be backed up with tangible evidence. And I think when they get back in September, if they're going to get back onto this in September, Senator Burchett and Luna and the other two, whose names I can't remember, I'm afraid, should push and push and push. They should not let these people back out. They should subpoena everybody that has made claims that they have first-hand experience with ET materials and ET technology. Don't let any of them run away and hide under the table, get them all in there, find out exactly what they've been doing, where they've been doing it, who they've been doing it with, what's their reporting chain, where is this going on, and get to the bottom of it. And I think they will all fold up like a pack of cards, because they all know it is absolute, complete and utter rubbish. That's what I think. Was there something else I was going to say there? Was there something else I was going to say? I can't think of it now. What's it? I thought there was something else I was going to say, but it's gone. It's gone right out of my head. So, yeah. Okay, sorry. I think that's going to have to do. Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. They should subpoena Bob Lazar. Get Bob Lazar in there. Get Bob Lazar talking to some real physicists. He always ran away from Stanton Friedman, because Stanton Friedman was a real physicist. And, it will become very obvious very quickly that Bob Lazar is not a physicist. Even Eric Davis says Bob Lazar, to use Eric Davis's words, made up the whole cockamamie story, about the ET craft and what they were doing at S4. This whole UFO business is wall-to-wall bullshit, until proven otherwise. Interestingly, Avi Loeb has handed out samples of the material he recovered from the ocean floor from that interstellar meteorite. That's the difference between what's real and what's science fiction rubbish. Avi Loeb holds up his sample in front of the camera, says, here's the material, here it is, holding it in his hand. Tangible evidence. And he's given samples of that material to different universities in America for peer review. And he's going to announce the results of that within the next few weeks. Within the next 25 days, I think, or 24 days now, Avi Loeb is going to make an announcement as to whether that is an engineered space vehicle or whether it's just a rock. I think that his preliminary analysis, which he did on the ship, because it was a research vessel, so they could do a preliminary analysis. His preliminary analysis said that it had something like an 84% iron content, and I think that tells the tale, really. I don't think aliens are going to be engineering spacecraft with iron in them at all. So I think it's going to come back. He's going to come back in 24 days' time and say, hey, it's a meteorite, but it's still an interstellar object. It's still interesting. The chemistry is interesting, but it is not synthetic. It's not engineered. I think that's what he's going to come back and say. But we'll just have to wait and see. And as always, I've said, if somebody shows me tangible evidence of the existence of extraterrestrials, I'll be happy to accept it. Like Shermer, is it? The guy with the Skeptic magazine? He was on a panel with a few guys the other day. And he said, look, if it turns out to be real, we'll put on the front page. They're real, we were wrong. He doesn't have a problem with that. And I don't have a problem with that either. If it's real, show me it's real. I'll be happy to accept it. I'll say I was wrong. Easy. So these UFO fanboys think that people that think it's all a load of old rubbish are going to have some kind of nervous breakdown if they find out it isn't. Well, I'm quite convinced it's a load of old rubbish, and I think this works the other way round. It's the fanboys that would have a nervous breakdown. If the American government don't disclose, which they won't, of course, because there's nothing to disclose, they have to keep beating the "it's all a cover-up" drum. If Arrow don't know anything about it, then Arrow isn't really the department that's investigating it. It's just the public front department, the real department that's handling all these materials, ET materials, is all secret. It's been kept from all these people. It's been kept from Congress. It's been kept from Arrow. And of course, it's complete and utter nonsense. It's clutching at straws. It's all they can say, and this is exactly what I said they would say. As soon as Arrow says there's no evidence to support any of this, they're going to say, oh, it's all covered up, it's all suppressed, truth embargo. It's all they can say. It's very easy to suppress a top secret engineering program that's going to involve how many people, football field sized alien spacecraft and all this, when none of it really exists. It's dead easy to hide it and suppress the information, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, as I said, this is the 9th of August in Western Australia. It's the equivalent of the 9th of December in the UK. It's the middle of winter here. It's 23 degrees centigrade. It's pretty warm, actually. Got the sun beating down over my right shoulder. As you can see, the ocean there glittering away. Ooh. Turn around and show you the view. Whoever was arguing or watching the horse racing or whatever it is, shut up. The guy with the loud car radio has disappeared. And all we can hear now is the crows. Okay, just a quick add-on. Since this information has come to light about Grusch with his problems with mental health issues, apparently he had problems with alcoholism as well. And had to be forcibly removed from his house. He was arrested, and I think he was forcibly taken to a mental health facility to get the treatment that he required. Now, a big red flag, really, because he's coming forward with such a fantastic story. It's not really the sort of background that suggests credibility, to be perfectly honest. He's even said that he's not seen any of this stuff personally. He's only repeating what he's been told. So, if these conditions affect his critical thinking ability and his ability to how he perceives the real world, then he might just swallow all this stuff and take it for granted that it's true. So they'd have no problem repeating it in front of Congress because in his mind it's true, when in fact it really isn't. But I think if the journalists that are pushing this guy forward, Knapp, Corbell and Coulthard, are fully aware of his background with regard his mental health issues, with his autism, with his alcoholism, if they're fully aware of that and they still put him on a stage in front of everybody so that he could tell this story, personally, I think they should be ashamed of themselves, really, because they're exploiting him, aren't they? They have books to sell, DVDs to sell. All those guys make a living out of this stuff, and they've gone, okay, well, this guy's got a really interesting story to tell. He's got to sell. Freudian slip. He's got an interesting story to tell. Let's prop him up in front of Congress. He's got a great military background. It's a bit like Philip Corso, the Philip Corso story. All these credentials. There was no doubt he did this, and there was no doubt he was at Wright-Patterson, and there was no doubt that he was working at the Pentagon and all this sort of stuff. And it turned out to be a complete load of rubbish, his Day After Roswell book. It was complete and utter nonsense. His son said it was nonsense. All that was fabricated by someone that wanted to make a few quid out of a UFO book. And I think it's really out of order for people to do that. Just prop this guy up in front of anyone that will listen and say, okay, well, I'll give you a thumbs up, tell your story, because that's going to help me sell my books, my DVDs, my video clips, whatever it happens to be. And personally, I think they should be ashamed of themselves. I said earlier someone suffering from PhD. I meant PTSD, of course. And I don't know what I was thinking. I was probably thinking about Eric Davis. Eric Davis has a PhD. Apparently he's a real PhD, Eric Davis. and he was saying that Lazar made up the whole cockamamie story about working on UFOs and flying saucers. It's interesting, there's a bit of infighting amongst the UFO fanboys, you know, because Stanton Friedman said that Bob Lazar was no physicist as well. But I think the idea of that is they think it makes them look more credible. You know, if they say to another UFO piffle peddler is talking rubbish, it makes them look more credible. But when you look at some of the other stuff they're talking about, you know, certainly the stuff Eric Davis talks about, it becomes obvious fairly quickly that they're pretty far out there. It's not credible stuff, in my opinion, personal opinion, of course. Better throw that in, because Coulthard's a lawyer, isn't he? All personal opinion. But yeah, so I said PhD, I meant PTSD, people suffering from PTSD. I certainly wouldn't want to make light of it. Certainly wouldn't make fun of it. And if someone came to me with a crazy story about flying saucers and aliens, and they'd just come back from Afghanistan and they'd had problems with alcoholism, and they'd had problems with mental health issues, and they were autistic, I'd say, yeah, okay, it's an interesting story, thanks for telling me. What I wouldn't do is put him on national television, put him on a global social media platform, and put him in front of Congress. I really would not be doing that. But still, what's done is done. So let's hope it all plays out to the end this time. No one is allowed to escape a subpoena. They get the people from these aerospace companies in. They get the people that have been spruiking all this bloody rubbish for decades. Get everybody in there, get them under oath, and get to the bottom of it. Where are you doing this? Show us some tangible evidence. Take us to see one of these things. Where is this football field-sized craft that's crashed outside of the US that a building has put over? We'll contact their government and go and have a look at it. Get right to the bottom of them. Get right to the bottom of it. Subpoena them. It's put up or shut up time. This bloody rubbish has gone on for far too long. Okay, that's just a quick tack on. So thanks for watching, and maybe I'll catch you again.